Usos brand family. We are family.
How's it going? Welcome, episode 7 of What Have They Done to Our Sport? Episode 7. I'm Schaaf, and my co-host, as always, Mikey Messier. How's it going?
It's good. We're here. Well, I'm here in New England, and it's warm as hell, but we've got a little taste of Paris behind me. I think that's the Eiffel Tower, if it's upright. And like I said, it's hot in New England. And where about your part of the country, Cole? Is it hot there too?
Oh yeah, man. Nebraska is balls hot, man, and the humidity here sucks. It's horrible. I hate it. But you know, it's better than snow because at least we can do things outside. I was at a 4th of July party this weekend and played human-sized foosball for the first time. That was pretty fun. We made it all the way to the championship game and lost 5-4. But that was a good time. I haven't done that. But let's get right into it. I got some pretty cool news here. I had some interaction with Eric Bischoff on Twitter. I watched his Twitch page and suggested to him or asked him how many subscriptions it would take for him to get a tattoo of 83 weeks. And he threw out 500. And then he put it on Twitter. I tried to get my credit. He kept ignoring it or didn't see it. We'll go with didn't see it. And finally I got his attention, and I was like, hey, since I'm the one who suggested this, would you give me some time on my podcast? And he retweeted it with a sure DM me. So he's like, well, I can't DM you because you don't follow me. How else can I get a hold of you? Well, he followed me, so he followed me back, and then I DM'd him. Well, as we all know, it's 4th of July. It's just his favorite time of the year, so he's got a bunch of family stuff going on. But he'll get back to me, and we'll get that going. I also lined up an interview with Justin Credible. He's going to give us 2 hours of his time. That's going to be fun. I'm really excited and looking forward to that. So,
well, I can say this about Justin Credible. A documentary that a friend of mine, David Gear, is one of the producers on, and the director is another friend of ours who's doing a great job with this Credible documentary. And Justin lives about an hour from me in Connecticut. And I've met him several times, and I know that he's fighting a good fight, man. And you know, I wouldn't say that I'm close with him, but I've talked to him a couple of times in person. We were on a film set for the movie titled Vault, which is a great cast. And my friend Tommy DiNucci is the director. Chad Birdie's a producer out of Rhode Island. Martin Scorsese, of all people, is an executive producer on this film called Vault. And Justin Credible and I were there. Playing prison inmates on the same day, and that was back, I think, in March. Oh, and you know, Justin's fighting a good fight, man. So
that's good. Yeah, I know. That's why I want to get him on. There's so much stuff I can talk to him about and ask him. Hopefully he doesn't have too many restrictions. But obviously, if he does, I'll respect those wishes and not overstep my boundaries.
He's pretty open, bro. So I think Justin will give you a good talk. And speaking of Eric Bischoff, you know, I had a little bit of fun with him because I went on his Twitter thing, and I guess he and Dave Meltzer were going at it again, and I just chimed in, just saying something to the effect of, hey, Eric, you know, you might have issues with Dave Meltzer and what he has to say about stuff, but if he hadn't written the Wrestling Observer back in the late 90s, you know, for that whole run of Nitro, then Conrad Thompson, who's invented all these Conrad podcasts, he wouldn't have this source information in order to kind of tell these stories in which Bischoff can then, you know, refute or argue with. So the template or the outline of all these Conrad Thompson 83-week shows is in addition to a lot of the Something to Wrestle shows and even the Tony Schiavone shows that I listen to all those shows. It's because of Dave Meltzer's hard work. And you can say that Meltzer profited because he had the wrestling shows to write about. So it's all circular. But I was just trying to make a point that you can piss on a Dave Meltzer if you want, and I do too. You know, with some of his star ratings are ridiculous. -4 stars for Hogan Andre at WrestleMania 3. And you know, me and JG on Generating Heat had a whole podcast about that. But you got to give Meltzer credit. I mean, he's the one that wrote this stuff. And you might take issue with what he wrote, but the fact that he wrote it gave Bischoff something to make money off of 20 years later. You know what I mean?
Yep. Oh, for sure. You're 100% right. Now, I did see that interaction, and I will give him that, man. He's pretty interactive with the people, and he responds. I mean, he picks and chooses, but he responds. So if you give him something to talk about, he'll talk about it for sure.
Well, he's going to take time out between the blue chews. You know, his blue
man.
chews. And I saw him with Mrs. B, his wife, and she looks like a lovely lady. And God bless them. You know, they sold the punch pretty well. They did a nice advertisement for blue chews. And, you know, look, man, Bischoff, you got to respect a guy like that. Like, he went toe-to-toe with Vince McMahon at a time that not many people had the fucking balls to do it. So give him credit, like him or not. You know what I mean?
Yep. And that's why I'm looking forward to talking to him. I can't wait. I'm going to have some good questions, hopefully some that he's never heard before, and give him an experience that he won't forget, and he'll tell us people about us, and we'll get some more guests that way, man. That's all it takes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
First thing I want to talk about, we're gonna step outside the wrestling bubble for a second. LeBron James just committed with the Los Angeles Lakers to a 4-year contract. I fucking hate LeBron James. He's a prima donna. He's ruined the game of basketball. I mean, yes, he's a great player. He's the best player in the league right now, but people are catching up. I just don't like how he switched 4 times, like, teams a bunch of times. He don't. You know, when he went to Miami, he said, "Oh, we're gonna win 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 championships," and he left after his 4th year. I don't like the guy. He's arrogant, and now he's in LA. It's gonna be a fucking cluster. It's just everyone's already going there. Lance Stevenson signed there. The NBA's fucking up, if you ask me. I mean, you got these 2 powerhouses in the Western Conference. That's about it. The Western Conference is going to win it every year. The only thing that
I think it's really interesting that you take issue that when LeBron went from Miami back to Cleveland, because a lot of people gave him credit for going back to his original hometown sort of team. Although I believe LeBron's from Akron, not even Cleveland, and there's some type of Cleveland versus Akron rivalry, believe it or not.
Yeah, I don't think he should have ever left in the first place, in my opinion. That's why I don't give him credit for going back. You don't fucking leave Cleveland if that's your home state and then go win a championship and then go back. You know what I mean? To me, that's just, you know, and then I feel bad for Luke Walton. He's one of my favorite coaches in the league. I just like him. I liked his dad, and
right.
his career's gonna get ruined because of LeBron. Look at how many coaches that dude's, you know, Eric Spoelstra is the only coach that made it through his whole tenure.
Luke Walton was the coach of Cleveland the first time, was that right?
No, Luke Walton was the assistant coach of Golden State.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
I'm confused. Why does that affect, how is he affected by LeBron? I'm missing something.
Because LeBron runs the team, you know what I mean? He's the coach, the GM, and the player. Like, look how many coaches he's gotten fired. He's handpicked every coach he's had that he's played for, except for Eric Spoelstra. He handpicked.
But if Walton's with Golden State,
no. Walton's the head coach of the Lakers now.
Oh, okay.
He used to be the assistant coach of Golden State.
Is that a new development too? Luke Walton with the
LA? I think he's been there for 2 years. 1 for sure, but maybe 2.
Gotcha.
Maybe
you're following
2.
closer than I am then.
Oh yeah.
Well, look, I would say this just to play devil's advocate, but I would actually like to know, Cole. This might be the special NBA sidetrack, but why do you think LeBron James has ruined the NBA?
I just don't. I mean, he fucking flops, man. Every time he's anywhere down the lane, he gets someone touches him on his arm. He fucking flings around and jumps on the ground and acts like he's fucking hurt. The dude's never missed a game in his career, and I can't take that away from him. I have much respect in that aspect. But you don't sit here and be the best player in the world. You're 6 foot fucking whatever, 270 pounds of solid fucking muscle, and you're gonna flop around when the point guard accidentally touches you when you go up for a shot. Dude,
there was something where he 2 or 3 finals ago, he got knocked into the stands. He kind of brought the camera into his own face or something. Like he almost made it seem like a wrestling stunt. Like he made the fall worse than it was.
Oh yeah,
remember that from 2 or 3 finals ago?
And it's only getting worse, man. And then when his team's losing and he knows the game's over, he pulls himself out of the game and sits on the bench. I don't like that shit. I'm not a fucking LeBron fan. When I think of the greatest of all time, you think of Michael Jordan. That dude didn't miss a game. He missed games and shit, but he played through the flu. He always stepped up in the big moments, didn't choke in the big moments, and then fucking pout and throw fits. And he definitely didn't flop. You look at Tom Brady, that dude.
I like Jordan a hell of a lot more than the LeBron. I don't know if I go so far to say as LeBron's ruining the league. Do you feel that Lonzo Ball, is he going to get kicked off the Lakers now? Because do you think LeBron will want to tolerate his dad or whatever? Or do you think he'll give the kid a shot or what?
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm actually a huge Lonzo Ball fan. Yeah, his dad's whatever, but I like the kid himself. I think this is going to make him become one of the best players he can be because he's going to get to play with LeBron for 4 years. So I think this is tremendous for his career, and that's the main positive out of it. Because like I said, LeBron is the best player, but I don't have to like him because he's the best player. I don't like the way he is as a person. Okay, he's a good person. He gives back to the on the basketball court. I don't like the body language. You're fucking supposed to be the leader, the face of this goddamn, billion-dollar sports league, and you act like a fucking female, flopping around, pouting, pulling yourself out of games when your team's losing, blah, blah, blah. I just don't like that attitude. And someone who's supposed to be the face of a league, the best player in the world. You don't see...
before we lose the 2 female viewers that we have, let's. It's not women's fault that LeBron plays like that.
That's a bad word choice. I don't mean any disrespect whatsoever when I say that. I apologize.
I mean, you wanted to mention that Charlotte, going back to wrestling, Charlotte Flair is big time right now on ESPN. The body issue. We got Charlotte Flair. Is she the first female professional wrestler in the ESPN body issue?
I'm guessing that's got to be true because, I've never heard of anybody else. I know she's not the first WWE superstar, but she's definitely the first WWE women. And some of those pictures are really, really cool, and I'll give them that. I just don't think Charlotte's like one of the hottest divas around. She's a good-looking person, but there's many other people I would have picked in that spot. But I get why
Who did you have picked?
Alexa Bliss, Sasha Banks. But I get why they picked Charlotte Flair because of her name. So I understand that.
Yeah.
So I get it. But like I said, some of the pictures are cool. She doesn't look bad. It's a cool moment for women's wrestling, women in general. It was cool. I just think they should have picked somebody else. But it's not about looks anymore. It's about
I think part of it is that she's got the most athletic body. Like, you could compare her to a female volleyball player or track star, and she's got a body that's most comparable to someone of that nature, perhaps, so to speak.
Yes, sir.
But, as far as who would you most want to see in a revealing manner, Alexa Bliss, and even Alicia, what's her name? Alicia Fox, I think, is very attractive.
Oh, yeah.
Totally underused by WWE.
Is she still under contract?
Well, she had a little pissy fight with Ronda Rousey's boyfriend, apparently, going way back 5 or 6 months ago. And, they there was a little YouTube video or something of a phone camera of Alicia Fox and Ronda Rousey's boyfriend having an argument. And it's kind of silly and trivial, but we haven't seen Alicia since she got into a little pissing contest, not even with Ronda, but with Ronda's boyfriend. So I thought that's bullshit because Alicia Fox, Foxy's been around for 10 years. She started during the Edge Vicky Guerrero feud. But anyway, I think Alicia Fox is hot. I think she's gorgeous, got a great stomach. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And just keeps herself in great shape.
She is definitely...
What else we got in the world of wrestling this week, though?
Okay, all right. It's going to get a little heated here for a second.
Good.
Shame on the WWE, man. They didn't fucking do nothing for Vader. And I find that very, very fucking disrespectful. I read an article today. I can't remember the source, but I'm not going to say it's fact or not, but it sounds like something that went down. The commentators were told not to say Vader's name on TV. Apparently, they showed a nice video to the crowd before it went live on TV, but all they did for him was the picture that started the show, the still shot at the beginning of the show. And that's bullshit, man. Vader's one of the, I didn't really get to watch Vader because he wrestled before I was really, old enough to understand what was going on, but I still know who he is. I still know what he's done. That shows you how much he's done for the business in general. And I just don't understand what is their requirements to blackball somebody from getting the respect they deserve or giving people respect that shouldn't have respect. You know what I mean? I don't understand why they would disrespect this man like this. I don't get it at all.
I agree with you, and I know that they did that 4-minute trivia video that I think was up on the website and the network and everything. and it was a video, probably as good as their other tribute videos to departed wrestlers. And I don't know, to play devil's advocate again or make excuses maybe. I think Vader died Monday, and his family didn't release that info, or his son specifically, until Wednesday of last week. And maybe that WWE justified it by saying, well, by the time people see this Monday Night Raw show, the news is old, 5 days old. But honestly, it's such a thin line. I mean, what separates, say,
Yeah, but I mean, hold on. I'm gonna say something. Even if that was their excuse, that it's old news. That's the only thing that's been talked about in the wrestling world since it's happened.
And also, something to the effect of, it's such a weird thing, Cole, how when certain wrestlers pass away, say a Bruno Sammartino, Ultimate Warrior, and if they were recently brought back into the WWE on good terms, it's more of a big deal. Whereas Vader, who didn't really leave on particularly bad terms and was welcomed back and even inducted Stan Hansen to the WWE Hall of Fame, and someone said this about WWE, or Vince McMahon in particular. Vince tends to favor people who he's broken ties with, had a falling out with, people like, say Hogan or Bruno or Ultimate Warrior, but guys like, Vader, or before him, Bobby the Brain Heenan, who never said a bad word about Vince McMahon or the WWE, if they leave, they're not as heralded when they come back. It's like Vince has this psychological issue where he's like a guy trying to woo a woman or something, or vice versa. He likes the chase. He likes the pursuit. So maybe Vader, but I mean, Vader, as we know, announced that he had 2 years to live, that a doctor told him that. Vader was fighting hard against that diagnosis. And you'd think that WWE basically had a year or two at least to induct him into the Hall of Fame. I mean, he should have been in there anyway. He didn't need to have a sympathy Hall of Fame induction. God damn it. I mean, if anyone deserved it, Vader did. And so it is kind of disgusting. I made a video the morning that I found out about Vader's death, and I made my own Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, a Mike Messier Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, class number 1, Ox Baker, Big Daddy V, Nelson Frazier Jr., Mabel, Viscera, same guy, and Vader, Leon White. So that's my 3 guys in my own Mike Messier Hall of Fame, right there, buddy.
Yeah, he definitely should have been in the Hall of Fame. It's bullshit, man. I'm mad about it. Like I said, I didn't really get to watch a lot of his work and stuff. I have now, but like when it was happening, and but I still remember seeing him on Raw, and I don't understand. And then nobody says shit about it to him. They just, who fucking cares? It's the WWE. They get to do whatever the fuck they want. Like no one.
Well, a lot of people do. A lot of people are pissed about it. To tell you the truth, Cole, I think the thing is that people are pissed about it. You're pissed. I saw a couple of videos. I saw a video on YouTube. I never saw this guy before, who was even more pissed than either one of us about Vader. I saw this other podcast guy from New York, who's a total New York angry wrestling fan. All he talks about is WWE and how much he hates it, but he constantly watches it, and he was going off about it. So don't feel that you're alone in this anger, Cole. There are guys who are angry about it. I just don't know, who would we want to say something about it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like someone, like a star, somebody that's, huge or been in the company or something, needs to step up and say something like, this is bullshit. You guys didn't even give the guy a time of day on national television, because it was, it's just, I don't fucking get it. It's the dude deserves more respect than that. So rest in peace, man.
I think Mick Foley, to his credit, was saying something. I think Mick Foley was campaigning for Vader to get in the Hall of Fame. Those guys are always going to be tied together because of the missing ear in Germany match and the Texas Death match at Halloween Havoc '93. And have you ever seen those WCW Saturday Night matches, Cole, from like February, March '93? Did you ever see those?
No, sir.
Well, you got to find those because they're on a Mick Foley disc. Mick Foley had like 2 or 3 compilations, but there's one that's a double disc that you could probably find it on Craigslist or any of these, secondhand things. It's like Mick Foley's greatest hits and misses, but you gotta. I think it's the one that has Mick shows the uncensored version of that WCW Saturday Night match where Vader powerbombs him on the concrete. And they had, like, blood and stuff. Like, these were hardcore fucking matches on WCW TBS Saturday night in 1993. Matches that you would never see today. You know what I mean?
Yep. So, so rest in peace, Vader. Screw the WWE yet again. I think it's bullshit, embarrassment of what that they just do all this ass backwards shit. But I'm gonna get off of the subject because I'm gonna get more mad. We'll probably come back to it because I talked about LeBron James, who I hate, on top, and then back to back with what the.
I'll show you something real quick, just because we're in another room of the Messier mansion, so to speak. But just so all you wrestling fans, I did a video on my YouTube channel about having your wrestling contraband. We talk about how great the network is. You know, it is great because you have it as a resource. But I always tell fans like you and like myself, Cole, don't just have the network. You've got to have your contraband. With that in mind, I want to show you guys. Can you see these, Cole?
Yep.
These are all my DVDs, and I can't really look and to see what it's focusing on, but you can see that there's a lot of wrestling in there. You know, there's like Rey Mysterio, and we're trying to get on this bootleg. Do you see that NWA World Title Japan DVD?
Yep.
Okay, so I mean, what I'm showing you is, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of WWE releases. There's some TNA stuff. And that's a Georgia Wrestling. It's upside down, of course, but Georgia Wrestling, The Passion of the Christ, Raven and Sandman. I mean, all types of interesting things. This ECW, do you see that? ECW, the Best of Cactus Jack.
Yep.
So what I'm just trying to show you guys is, I mean, there's some bootleg stuff. I don't even want it to be shown on air. Because I got stuff that I shouldn't even have, to be honest with you. Bootleg stuff. But you got to have your wrestling contraband because you don't want to be dependent on just the WWE. You know what I mean? You got to have some backup stuff in case of wrestling emergencies. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. I hear you. That's quite the collection. I have a few myself. Nothing like that, but yeah, I have a few. I got like.
All right. What else you get? What else you got? This. What else you got? This.
Caitlin's coming back to the WWE in one way or the other. NXT or WWE. I don't know yet. Probably both. But that's big news. She's always been a powerhouse, so I think I like that. She's good in the ring. She knows what to do. So. How do you feel about
when
that?
she left, she was more popular when she left with a lot of the internet fans because she changed her physique and she got all ripped and everything.
Oh, yeah, she's ripped. Isn't that Bubba Ray's ex-wife?
I don't know. I mean, good for him if it is. I know that he's with Velvet Sky now, right?
Yep, that he is. I'm Googling it right now, but I'm almost 99% sure that's his ex-wife.
Here's another disc set I wanted to show everybody. Rico Dozan, who was the grandfather of Japanese wrestling. And this guy, I think, died young at like age 38. I mean, I've watched some of this stuff. And this is like 5 discs of Rico Dozan. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I just show this stuff because I want wrestling fans who are watching what have they done to our sport just to reiterate, you got to get more stuff than just the network. You can't be dependent on one source for your wrestling material, that's all.
Yes, sir. And then that brings me to the XFL, some news we heard about the XFL now that was released the other day, which I've said on here and I'll say it again. I think the XFL is going to be an epic failure. That other football league comes out in 2019, already has a TV deal, and is a year ahead of Vince McMahon and has a better model as Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon killed the XFL when he came out and said that nobody with a criminal record will play in his league. So he plans on spending $500 million over 3 years, and the average salary for a football player will be $75,000 a year. So
that's not a lot to risk your body.
That's exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's the first thing I said. I was like, no one's gonna sign up for concussions for $75,000 a year, bro.
Well, you know what? I bet some guys do, but I don't think they're going to be the elite. I mean, I think, like, if he had any intention of getting, you know, I mean, who's some star players or guys with any type of name value? Who's that college guy, the guy that takes the knee to pray? Not
Kaepernick.
Yeah, but no, the other guy, the guy
Tebow.
that played in the NFL, who's like a pretty boy
Tebow.
Christian guy for a couple of years. Yeah, Tebow. He's not going to get Cap or Tebow for $75,000 a year. I mean, what? I mean, look, $75,000 is a hell of a lot of money for me, you, and most people watching our show right now. But in the world of professional sports, if he's going to make, is that a blanket payment for everybody?
Well, that was the average salary in the league.
See, I think Vince is making stuff up at this point. This is my thing with the NFL, XFL, Cole. I think that Vince is. I mean, I looked at the website for the XFL. I mean, I looked into it and see what they're doing there, and I just think it's a thing where. And I'm not picking on Vince McMahon, but I guess I will a little bit. I'll just raise the question of this. Is it possible that he's just an eccentric who doesn't know what to do with his money and his time? Well, can we just say that? Because you talk about things like the World Bodybuilding Federation, 1991, 92, 93, or 94. You talk about things like some of their straight-to-video movies, which are actually, watchable for the most part. But when WWE does non-WWE, it's not always a pretty thing, and I don't know how else to say it, but I just said it. You know what I mean?
I think he killed his chances the minute he came out and made that first press conference, and then with this other league already having a TV deal, it's gonna fail. I mean, if I was him, all I would do instead of looking for a TV deal, put it on the WWE network, because that's the only fans you're gonna have is WWE fans. No one's gonna watch this shit. It's gonna fail. But he said, he's gonna lose $500 million over 3 years. So we'll see. I just think this other league's. What's funny about this other league coming out? It's the guy who's running that league's the son of Vince McMahon's former XFL partner.
Yeah, Emersol's kid. He's the one that did the XFL documentary.
Yep, exactly. Right?
So it's weird. If they were smart, they would just merge those two forces. Like Emersol's kid would, buy out Vince's deal before it even happens. But who knows, man?
Yep.
What else we got?
That leads us to Matt. I hope I don't say his last name wrong, but Matt Capitelli. I'm gonna go with passed away at the age of 38. He won Tough Enough Season 3, I believe. So I don't know anything about him, but everything I've read, everybody said he's a cool guy. He was a great guy. Fought long and hard, and rest in peace, and my thoughts and stuff go out with his family. So,
I know a lot of people like Brian Danovich, who I spoke with a few weeks ago on the Brian Danovich show, who's on Tough Enough with Miz and Ryback. Danovich really had a nice tribute to Matt, and Lance Storm did. And the guy, basically, I believe he had a brain tumor that was cancerous. I believe that's what he was fighting all this time. And it's sad, and unfortunately, I hate to say it, but one of the things that he'll be remembered is that he was the guy that got roughed up pretty hardcore by Bob Holly on Tough Enough. Like, Tough Enough had a season where Bob Holly was there, and I just listened to the Something to Wrestle episode where they talked about Hardcore Holly, and basically Holly had just suffered a severe neck injury, like a broken neck, against Brock Lesnar. And then basically a day or two later, he's at the Tough Enough thing, and he gets in the ring with Hardcore Holly. Just took it upon himself to rough up Matt as a lesson in ring generalship. And of course, Holly would say later on that the editing and so forth made it look worse than it was, and blah, 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 and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. But unfortunately, that incident is probably what most people remember Matt for. A lot of his stuff that he did in the training, federations may go overlooked. But yeah, it's a sad thing when a guy, I think he was only 38 years old or something really young like that, so it's horrible.
38, yeah, it's pretty sad. So rest in peace, man. Like I said, thoughts and prayers with your family. Rich Swann debuted on TNA Impact this week. I watched the match. Did pretty good. I'm telling you, man, TNA's looking pretty good. They got storylines. They got shit that makes sense. It's insane. And I'll break down more of that when we go over our Stampede 83 or however they say it.
Starcade 83.
Starcade 83. Sorry, yeah.
All right.
And but yeah, I'll talk more about that when we get there. But it's just there. It's looking pretty good. He won his debut match. He looked good. I think WWE lost a good talent in him. So TNA picking him up is awesome. I think TNA needs to do everything in their power to sign Big Cass and Enzo.
Both together?
Yep. And I think Enzo and Big Cass will put it aside to make some money because they can make a killing out there together. They're the hottest names on the market right now. So yeah.
Let me ask you this: what's the business model right now for Anthem Wrestling, Impact Wrestling? Do they do monthly pay-per-views? Are they just how do they make money? Is it just through advertising through the TV show, or what's the revenue?
I think they have a monthly pay-per-view. I don't know for sure. I just started watching it. I still don't watch 100% consistently, but if I'm sitting in front of the TV on Thursday and nothing's going on, I'll go ahead and put it on. But I know they have a pay-per-view. They were just talking about the last one, so I don't know if it's monthly, but they have pay-per-views. But I mean, I know I heard that they paper the arena a lot and stuff like that, but their arenas the last couple times I've been watching seem to have a lot more energy and a lot more people, and so that's a good sign. I mean, it's like a good show because, like I said, you don't have to watch all the time, and you can click it on, and you'll catch them explaining something that's going on in the storyline they're showing, so you can get a rundown instead of just like, oh shit, what the fuck's going on? There's no way I can get into it. And like I said, I noticed that a lot in 83, Starcade 83, is that they told people about the storylines that didn't get a watch last week or that missed something. You know what I mean? And like you don't see that. You don't see that today. So it's good to see that they're trying to do that at TNA, and I think that'll help. And I think there's going to start being a lot of buzz for them, and they're going to start getting a lot better. Who's
some of your top wrestlers there? Like who do you, when they come on Impact, who do you like seeing?
I liked I liked when EC3 was there, but he's gone now, obviously. I think I liked when that's what I mean. They lost a lot of talent that had, like Lashley's gone now, EC3's gone now. Tyrus just left, which was Brodus Clay.
Yes.
So they don't really have anybody. That's why now it's a good time for them to get Rich Swann in there. I think he'll be a star. They need to get Enzo and Big Cass. I can't remember this. Something Cage, this one dude they got is huge, dude. In my opinion, I think he's on the juice, but that doesn't matter to me. That's just you don't.
What about the Hulkster, brother? Don't you think the Hulkster deserves one more opportunity to run wild with the NWO? Oh my God, brother! TNA Wrestling, we're putting this thing on fire, brother.
Yeah,
but I mean, that's one thing I'd say about my experience as a TNA on and again or Impact. On again, off again fan is exactly what you're hitting upon, Cole, is that the talent roster seems to, just when someone's getting good, they're gone. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think that happened with Maria Kanellis and Mike Bennett. I think Maria was like the head of the women's roster, like in a storyline thing, and then the next thing you know, she's gone. Mike Bennett's gone.
That stuff they got going on with Sam Callahan's really good, though, right now.
Well, he went hardcore. I mean, that whole thing with the baseball bat to the eye, that pissed me off because I've met Eddie Edwards, he's a nice guy. And I think that's a tough thing because Edwards, Sammy Callahan was in a tough spot because it's like, okay, if you just Twitter or Facebook message or cut some YouTube video apologizing to your opponent, then you've just totally broken kayfabe. But if you don't apologize for smashing a guy in the eye socket, then you seem like a total fucking prick and an asshole for the rest of your career. And he chose the later. He chose to go with the asshole thing. And to his credit, he seems to be running with it pretty well. The flip side of that, of course, is I think he and Kevin Sullivan had an independent match a few months ago. And I was wondering exactly what the status of that is because they showed Kevin Sullivan, I mean, he was probably 55 or 60 years old by now, had like this nasty bump on his head, like a growth, like an inflammation, you know what I mean, from a match with Sammy Callahan. And I never got the full story with what happened with that. So it didn't look like a makeup job either. It looked like a real fucking nasty thing that Callahan hit him with another object or so on and so forth. So anyway.
Yep, I hope they keep getting going. I wouldn't mind seeing another wrestling company try and compete with the WWE, or at least give us something else to watch besides the trash they have in the WWE.
MLW, JG's been watching a lot of MLW. Have you checked them out at all or
no?
not?
I'll have to check that out.
There's so much wrestling to watch, and that's one thing, Cole, that, when we started this podcast, I was so anti-WWE, but a lot of people have kind of chimed in with me on different Facebook threads, the wrestling fans with Shane McKenna and Chris Old and all those guys, and different groups on Facebook, and people say, well, Messier, why don't you watch other wrestling? And because we're doing this show now, I have been watching other wrestling. I've been watching, I got a New Japan World subscription just to give it a shot, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think for, people like myself and perhaps you, Cole, that we've kind of gotten ourselves in this WWE universe block, we're kind of blocked, you know what I mean?
Yep. And
that some of these other guys, and like for you're watching Rocky Mountain Pro, so you've got that whole thing going. But a lot of guys, are probably like myself, where we remember WCW, ECW, fucking even AWA, and all types of stuff, and then when we see what's left of it, which is just WWE, and we don't like it, there's a block that says, well, all wrestling sucks, or wrestling's not as good as it was 20 years ago. But what a lot of these other fans, and I'll give them credit, is they're kind of coming after me with, check out MLW, check out New Japan, check out this other stuff. Well, for you're saying check out Rocky Mountain Pro. And so it is kind of a thing where to do that. Now, my issue is, or even Impact Wrestling, I still have issues with some of all of these groups, because I'll watch a lot of these groups, and I'll have some issues with some of what they're doing too, but I'm not an expert enough to say that on every little thing, but some of these presentations are not to my liking, I guess, as much as the old stuff.
Yep.
So anyway.
Yep. All right, so that gives us to our last thing, and then we'll go over 83, Starcade 83. Rumor is Lesnar is out for SummerSlam. So I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know how he can be the Universal Champion and not ever be on TV, not beat any of the pay-per-views. They need to get that title off of that dude, man. It's just, I don't understand. I don't understand how he's the only guy who's ever been able to hold the WWE up hostage. You know what I mean?
It's pretty bad, bro. Did I just go away?
No, you're good. You're here.
It sucks, and I'll be honest with you. It seems like they've trapped themselves, meaning WWE has trapped themselves into this Brock Lesnar thing, man. And I've got a YouTube video, Mike Messier challenges Brock Lesnar, and I basically challenged Brock Lesnar to a fight, a UFC fight, $5 million to the winner, but there's only one caveat, and the caveat is, if either one of us has ever been proven to be a steroid or an illegal substance user, we lose the fight automatically. And of course, the big joke of it is that Brock Lesnar's already been proven to be, chemically dependent, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Someone even corrected me on that. Somebody corrected me and said, well, Brock Lesnar hasn't been proven for steroids. He was proven for something else.
Yeah.
So, Jim Cornette tells a story of Brock Lesnar ordering a box of fucking supplements, if you want to call it that. You have to look at the Jim Cornette files if you want for that. Going back to Ohio Valley. Look, I don't like Brock Lesnar. And I'd say that why I don't like him, I just don't think he likes wrestling. I don't think he likes being... He's a weird guy because, it's almost like he doesn't enjoy being himself. He like a Randy Couture has a certain flavor, a certain, he's happy about being a fighter. Brock is kind of weird. It's like he's good at it. I mean, whether it's UFC or WWE, he's good at it, but it doesn't seem like he enjoys it that much. And that's the vibe I get from him. And maybe I'm wrong, but I'm sick of his act. I'm sick of Paul Heyman. And what can I tell you? I mean, I think it's a thing where they've tried to shoehorn this Roman Reigns as a main eventer. They've tried to shoehorn Brock Lesnar. And it's really weird, Cole, because... in the world of theater or film or acting, if you are trying to work with an actor who is giving you an attitude problem, you snap your fingers, you get another fucking actor.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's more complex than that, of course, but in a sense, it's not. Another ass will fill that seat. Well, if the fans aren't responding to Roman Reigns, and if Brock Lesnar's disinterested in being a working champion, so to speak, snap your fingers. Put Chris Hero, or whatever the fuck they call him now, Cassius Ohno, put him in the championship mix. Make a star. It's not that they don't have the talent roster. Put Cesaro in a main event role. I mean, people loved Cesaro a couple of years ago, and they just watered him down in a tag team. Seth Rollins could be ready for another run at any time.
I just think it's a joke, man, that they're letting this go on, and it's another thing that just gets ignored. Like, that's your fucking champion, the guy who's got the biggest belt in the company, and you don't address him. I don't understand their thought process, man. And I'm getting ready to shred them apart when we go over 83 Starcade 83.
Even the cat's upset about it.
Yeah, I know. I was just going to say my cat's been pissed. She's been going off for the last 30 seconds. I don't know why.
You mentioned Brock Lesnar not defending the title, and the cat's irate.
Yeah, I know. You guys got heat with my cat even.
Okay, let's talk about, you got anything else about Lesnar?
Yeah, I'm just going to say, like, they need to get that belt off of him. I don't know what else you're saying. Just move on from him. I don't really think he's that good in the ring anyways. His shit is old. He does the same thing over and over again. He fucking doesn't talk. He gets into a match. He suplexes someone 42 fucking times, and then he pins them. Ooh, that's fucking awesome. You know what I mean? So I'm over it. But yeah, let's get to it. Starcade 83. I want to thank you for suggesting this to me. I've never watched this before. I didn't get to watch any of this stuff back in the day, obviously, because I was not born yet. But I found it interesting that this was on Thanksgiving, that you would put a pay-per-view on such a national holiday, and the turnout was great. Still, even with it being on Thanksgiving, the turnout was great, so that's the two things I noticed right away. I was a little shocked with how they started it with, two teams in the ring, nothing else in the beginning, no opening, nothing, just two teams in the ring, so I don't know if it was modified that way on the network or if that's how it was really on TV.
I think that's the telecast. It pretty much starts like that too.
Okay, and then the only negative I really have to take out of this was there was no entrance music and shit like that, and they always just started with him in the ring, and it was back-to-back tag team matches to start the pay-per-view. Other than that, the second tag team match, a shitload of blood. Beating them dudes up with that little pick thing or whatever it was, that was pretty cool. Never seen nothing like that before. So I really enjoyed that. The Butcher versus Cologne match. You can just see that they're fighting. There's a lot of punches. There's a lot of there's not a bunch of crazy shit. They're fighting each other, and and that's what a wrestling match should be. I mean, yeah, there's gonna be your drop kicks. There's gonna be your suplexes and shit like that. But the whole match should be like a fight, a struggle to get a hold of the other person. And I liked the story they told with him being way smaller and the other dude being way bigger. Butcher won that match.
Abdul the Butcher.
And then this was one of my favorite things. They followed up with injuries. You know what I mean? Like, so the tag team that got hurt was bleeding in the second match, they interviewed him after the Butcher match. And you don't see that nowadays, man. Like, that's what we were saying. Like, even when that shit happened with Stephanie, she got her arm broken. They never followed up with her again until the next week. They followed up with this team 20 minutes later, if that. And it's those little things like that if they could do it back in fucking 1983, there's no reason we can't do it today, except for pure laziness. Like Vince Russo says, pure laziness. That is the only reason. But so I love that they kept asking for checking up on injuries, and asked everybody who they thought was going to win the title match. They made the title match feel like the most important thing that's ever happened. And that is amazing. Why can't you do that today? Why can't you, if you had a title match coming up, why can't you go ask the other talent who they think's going to win? That makes it, for one, seem more believable, like it's a real thing, because these guys are invested and they care about who's going to win. You're asking people for their opinions. So I really like that. You don't see that. Man, Tony Schiavone was real young back then, huh?
Yeah, right.
And so I noticed that as well. He did a pretty good job. Wahoo and
his first big show, yeah.
Yep. Wahoo and Youngblood versus Bob Orton and Dick Slater. I really like that name, Dick Slater. That'd be my wrestling name if I ever wrestled. I don't know why. It's just pretty funny to me. they focused on the arm, and then the way that dude sold his arm getting broken off the the side after the match or whatever was really cool.
McDaniel, yeah.
And then like that little shit, it just goes so far in making a wrestling show. I don't understand how the WWE and all these fans don't understand. You know what I mean? I don't understand. I will say this: I wasn't a big fan of that Charlie Brown match. I didn't understand it. Maybe I just didn't know the storyline.
That was Jimmy the Boogie Woogie Man Valiant under a mask, and the gimmick was, you might have heard of the Midnight Rider thing, and I'm trying to think if WWE's ever done it. But basically, I thought they might do it with Ronda, to be honest with you. What it usually is that a babyface loses a loser leaves town match, and rather than leave town, they come back under a mask.
Okay.
So why I mentioned Ronda is because it would be fucking hilarious if Ronda came back under a mask. And like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which would defeat the whole purpose of having Ronda Rousey if she's under a mask under this 30-day suspension. The most recent time the WWE did something like it was with Mr. America, which was Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
Back in like 2002. But it's an old school, I mean, you could call it a Southern gimmick, which it pretty much is, which is Charlie Brown was Jimmy Valiant, and he was just there as, that's pretty much the gimmick, yeah.
Sorry, guys, I thought the screen was over on you. I took a bite of a sandwich real quick, but everybody watching just got to see me take a bite of a sandwich.
Man, maybe you pop a promo for the sandwich.
There you go. Thank you to my wife for making me a sandwich that everybody just watched me eat, having a late dinner. Sorry about that, guys. That's my bad, but hey, whatever, that comes with the...
Hey, man, we're working hard here.
Yes, sir.
What else did you think about the show?
Okay, so yeah, I got the backstage segments were awesome, and the way it told a story, like I said, the way that you could just, I had no idea. I never watched any of the shows before this pay-per-view, nothing, and never seen anything about it. But I could tell what was going on the way they explained the stories all night long. Like when they went into Flair's locker room and he was in there with Steamboat and Youngblood, and then you had Charlie or Harley Race in with those guys, and they explained what happened, how they beat up Flair, and how these guys did this, and then you got down to it, and then why it was so significant that dude's arm got messed up after the match, and like that shit's so little and simple. I don't understand why they can't do it today. I don't. It doesn't make any sense to me, and like. The fact that listen, and everybody's like, oh, you don't know, you've never been in the business, blah, blah, blah. You're right. I have no idea. I've never been in the business. But as someone watching, as a fan who spent a lot of time watching, like, if they could do this shit back in 1983, there's no reason they can't do it today. It'd be way easier to pull it off today. You don't ever see a fucking vignette or an interview happening in the locker room. Rarely. You know what I mean? Or out in the parking lot. Or, inside the car. Anything, it's always in the ring, backstage. In the ring, backstage. In the ring, backstage. And, like, the way that these guys were going around asking the fans, who you think's going to win tonight? What are you going to do? Like, that's fucking cool. Why can't you do that nowadays? I mean, I get why you can't now because it's live TV and a bunch of marks and shit like that. But I like that little shit right there is so simple to make it so much better that I don't understand why they avoid doing anything like that.
I dig it, man. You're on to some good stuff. I'm glad you liked the show. What did you think of some of those main events? Like when you got into the Piper Valentine dog collar chain.
I'm right here. I'm getting to that right now. I'm on my second page of notes.
Nice, brother.
That Piper match, the dog chain match, man, that's awesome. You know what I mean? Like you don't see shit like that nowadays. The way they use the chain that part in the beginning of the match when they were tugging a war with each other's necks. That was pretty cool. I like how Roddy was dodging those chains to the head, swinging at his head and shit. That was pretty cool. Piper won the match, of course. I was a fan of it. I liked it. I was fully on invested in watching it. Steamboat and Youngblood versus the Briscoes. The Briscoes lose. This was my first time ever watching Steamboat in a match, so a lot of firsts for this. Of firsts for this pay-per-views. I'm gonna go ahead and say this though. I'm gonna cause some shit. Roman Reigns stole the Superman punch from Steamboat.
Okay.
I mean, to me, that's what he was throwing. It looked like to me he was throwing a Superman punch. So maybe UFC fighters and shit stole it from him too, because I don't know if UFC and shit was back around in 1983. I'm sure there was probably some form of it, but I'm not, I don't know about it. So I'm going to say...
I know that a lot of people credit Ricky Steamboat with the best arm drags in the sport. I don't know if they were that prevalent in this tag team match with Jay Youngblood against the Briscoes. But if you watch like Steamboat Savage WrestleMania 3 and a bunch of stuff of Ricky Steamboat, even against Steve Austin in '94, of course against Flair, Steamboat dug deep in those fucking arm drags. Yep, keep going, man.
And then this gets me to the Flair race match.
Yes.
Does anybody look more badass when they got color than Ric Flair?
No.
I mean, without a question.
Dusty's about it. Dusty and Flair. But probably Flair's the best.
I don't know if it has to do with the hair or what, but when he's busted open, man, nobody looks better doing it. I don't care what anybody says. That's the main thing I got out of it. It was a great match. Again, I like how the ref was trying to make him follow rules, and I don't know if I missed it or was it announced that Flair couldn't punch him or what? Because he kept saying something about it.
That's a good question.
Because he kept saying, closed fist. And so I don't know.
Was it Gene Kiniski who was the ref for that one?
I believe,
former wrestler himself.
Yeah, I believe so.
And it was, he was a little too active in my book. I kept thinking that. Well, I've watched that match a few times, and I kept thinking that Kiniski kept thinking he was the wrestler in the match. Like he kept forgetting he was the ref because he wanted to be fighting for the title himself, and even at that age. He was probably 65 or something.
Yes, sir. He was all over the place.
Well, technically, there's not supposed to be closed fists in pro wrestling, so they were going by that.
Okay.
And even though it's a cage match, Kiniski was going with there's no closed fists in wrestling, even in a steel cage match. And I tend to think that Kiniski was a little too active as a referee in that match. But I mean, it was still, it added some relevance to it. It made it seem a little more significant to have him in there with all the history that he had as a former champion.
Yes, sir. Like I said, so then I got that. Like I said, Flair. No one's more badass than Flair when it comes to getting color. I think he's the best by far. I mean, nobody gets color nowadays, anyways, unless you're in a Brock Lesnar match, then he can do whatever the fuck he wants. But yeah, I think in the story they told in the match was awesome, and then of course Flair wins, and the place goes crazy. And then I wrote down the ref because, like you said, he was super, super active, a little bit more active than he should have been. But again, at the same time, it's cool to see that because you don't really see that nowadays. You know what I mean? You see the little bullshit, relaxed, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, get off of him. Like he would get in there and aggressively and physically make sure that they knew he was in charge of that cage. So at that aspect, I like that. I think it was awesome. I'm gonna watch 84. Maybe you want to do 84 this week? You want to just stay on Starcade?
Yeah, Starcade 84. Let's do the follow-up, man.
Yeah, let's do Starcade 84 for the follow-up. I'm excited to watch it. I'm glad I got to watch it because just like I said, those little things, I'll go over them again. Interviewing the crowd, asking people who they think is going to win the title, following up with people who are getting injured, following up with people who lost a match, shit like that. Everything they did had a purpose. You know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't just bullshit angles and bullshit. They didn't waste any camera time or any time. Everything they did had a purpose. And it's cool to see that again because that's how wrestling used to be. And like I said earlier in the podcast, TNA looks like it's going down that same route, and I'm hoping they do because that'd be pretty fucking awesome for them to get it turned around. I hear a lot of things about that Don guy, but yeah, I'm glad you suggested this. 83 was fun. I had a good time watching it, and I'm ready to watch 84. I mean, what are your overall thoughts? I know you said you've seen it a couple times, so.
Oh, I've seen it a bunch of times, man. I mean, first of all, you mentioned that Starcade was on Thanksgiving night in Greensboro Coliseum. And it's because of Starcade being in Greensboro that I chose to start my college days in Greensboro. Because of the history and the lineage of Greensboro Pro Wrestling.
That's awesome.
And Yeah, and yeah, definitely, man. And I've been in the Greensboro Coliseum to see pro wrestling, and it's cool. The thing that I would say about just a note, historically, there was wrestling in Greensboro and in other major cities before Starcade '83. Atlanta's Omni, believe it or not, had a tag team tournament on Thanksgiving night. Okay, get this. That same night, Starcade '83, Thanksgiving night '83, you also had a tag team tournament in Atlanta, Georgia, which the finals came down to Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Magnum TA versus Butch Reed and Pistol Pez Watley. And what I wouldn't give for a tape of that, like a 20 tag team tournament. And they also had the Road Warriors on that show against, I believe, Brett and Buzz Sawyer. In world-class championship wrestling, the Von Erichs.
Yep.
Starcade '83 had a loser leaves town match between Michael Hayes and Kerry Von Erich. And I believe Andre the Giant wrestled in Texas on Thanksgiving night, 1983, not too far removed from all the hype with WrestleMania. Andre was in Texas wrestling in Starcade, wrestling in world. They call it Star Wars. In Texas, they called it Star Wars. So now, even before that year, there was many different wrestling shows going on Thanksgiving night. In the Greensboro Coliseum, I think they call it the Thanksgiving night tradition. Just a very, maybe, it wasn't even the official name, or maybe it was, but they call it the Thanksgiving night tradition. But the point is that the idea for these wrestling promotions was you eat your big meal with your family during the day, and you run off to the wrestling at night. And it worked. It worked for a long time. How it got fucked up, and I hate to point fingers back at Vince McMahon, but I will. Vince didn't like the fact that they were trying to get Starcade '87, moving forward a few years, on pay-per-view, meaning they being Jim Crockett Promotions. Vince McMahon, it's a long story, but he basically shoved them out of pay-per-view that year because he said, well, I'm going to do my Survivor Series, damn it. And you can do our show or nothing at all. You won't have WrestleMania next year. And all these pay-per-view companies basically catered to Vince McMahon, and they didn't show Starcade '87 on pay-per-view, which was highlighted by Ronnie Garvin versus Ric Flair in the cage. Now,
hold on real quick. On that point, I want to just bring it up. He's still got power like that today because Ring of Honor it will not be at Madison Square Garden now because Madison Square Garden backed out because Vince McMahon threw a little pissy fit.
History repeats itself, doesn't it?
Yes,
and
sir.
So if Vince is looking for a war, and people were bringing this up, and Cornette did, to his credit, about Sinclair Broadcasting, which owns Ring of Honor. See, Ring of Honor is not by itself anymore. They have Sinclair Broadcasting, which is more right-wing, more conservative, the ownership, so to speak, of what broadcasts Ring of Honor. And I'm not sure if they actually own Ring of Honor outright or not, but they do have the broadcast rights. So they're a little upset, or a lot upset, apparently, with Vince. So the same reindeer games that Vince McMahon is playing in Madison Square Garden in 2018, he was playing with the pay-per-view companies for Starcade '87, whatever the fuck years ago, 30 years ago. So, people want to... This ain't new stuff. It is and it's not. You know what I mean? Like Vince McMahon being territorial. He wants to run the Barclays Center. Guess why, folks? Because it's a newer building and it's a cheaper building. But at the same time, he doesn't want to, in his mind, dishonor his father's legacy, Vince McMahon Sr., in the history of Madison Square Garden by not having a totalitarian, power grip on that. So you can't have it both ways, Vince. But he's trying to. So we'll see what happens with that. As far as your thoughts on Starcade '83, man, I love your insights because what you said in there with the Carlos Colon Abdul the Butcher match is that it looked like a real fight. Or you said it was a fight. These guys were just beating the crap out of each other. And just before we got on the air tonight, I was watching the Piper Valentine match, the fucking dog collar match. And it's like, this is a brutal, vicious fight. These guys are looking like they're trying to hurt each other. The way that it's being filmed, it looks cinematic. It looks like like, despite all the advances in cameras and all the other stuff that we have now, this stuff from 1983 Starcade, it looks like more like a sporting event. You know what I mean? It looks like more like a real fucking thing going down.
Yep.
The other thing, Cole, to recognize is that when this match took place, there was no mixed martial arts. There was no UFC. So for professional wrestling fans and for the mainstream public, when you thought of, we want to see a fight, you'd either go to boxing or wrestling. And believe it or not, it might sound crazy, but a lot of people in the mainstream, not critics or not sports writers or not people that were informed, a lot of people didn't know in 1983 that pro wrestling was a work. They just didn't. How would they know?
Yep.
And they may not have, the fans kind of knew, or the fans did know, but the mainstream people that avoided wrestling weren't really in on the joke, so to speak. You know what I mean? So that's why people were always asking, is wrestling fake? Because they didn't know. Because the wrestlers did a hell of a good job of not tipping their fucking hat. They were more concerned about upholding the integrity of pro wrestling. To them, see, when I say the integrity of pro wrestling, I know that someone like Xavier Woods and Kenny Omega with their video game contest, that means nothing to them. They're going to play with their plastic dolls and wrestle in Japan with plastic dolls, and Joey Ryan's going to do his dick flex, but he would have no concept of Tully Blanchard versus Ricky Steamboat at Starcade 84. See, these guys now that, I mean, it's disappointing to me as a wrestling historian to see people that do actually have talent. I mean, a hell of a lot of talent in a guy like Kenny Omega, or even a Joey Ryan who's not. I've met him, he was okay, but when he's wrestling, when he's having guys do a dickplex, and Mick Foley's selling the dickplex, and Kenny Omega is wrestling a 9-year-old girl because it's going to make her feel good in a wrestling ring in Japan, yeah, what the fuck have they done to our sport? It's not exactly Starcade 83. So that's why I encourage guys like yourself, Cole, guys that are younger than me, check out the great history of your sport, because you might find that something like Starcade 83, Starcade 84, the Crockett Cup 87, these shows you might like them a hell of a lot better. And it's a whole world of discovery out there, and that's one thing that this particular video cast can do for the younger wrestling fans that have issues with WWE or some of this stuff that they're seeing, but you're not informed out of what is better because you're looking around, you're like, oh my God, is there anything? I want to tell you what's better, and that's what we're doing right here. So I'm glad you dug it, man, because if anything can happen with this show, it's that a young guy like Cole Schaaf or someone watching our podcast or video cast will be encouraged to do a promotion that reinvigorates the sport of professional wrestling. On that end, Cole, I want to see if can you see this book right here?
Yep.
Okay, my mom got me 2 copies of this book. When I was a kid, she got me this book, and then when I was an adult. Now, this is the copy that she got me later in life. She found the same book. This is Mike Graham, Hulk Hogan, the Fabulous. Well, look at this. Can you see this picture?
Yep.
That is Steve Kern gives Crazy Luke Williams a facial, is what they're saying. And that's the guy from the fucking Bushwhackers getting his face raked. So this is Carlos Colon, the guy that you saw. That's Luke Williams again. He's getting a lot of airtime in this book. That's Carlos Colon against Ernie fucking Ladd. Here's Bruiser goddamn Brody right there against Jimmy Snuka. You see that?
Yep.
I mean, this is the real deal. Dino Bravo. Now, if you were a kid looking at this book, and you're looking through this book, and you're seeing these black and white photos, and you're not seeing these guys with their Twitter accounts, thanking their opponent for their match that they just had in some high school gym in Peoria, or they're not doing a video. Look at Tony Atlas, man. That's a pretty ripped dude right there. They're not thanking their opponent or thanking their promoter or doing a little bow and a little prayer or whatever the fuck. I mean, look at this. This is Kevin Sullivan. Talk about the Rhodes family. That's Kevin Sullivan biting the head. Can you see that? Of Dusty Rhodes. There's Kevin Sullivan with a giant fucking snake. And can you see the snake? I mean, he's not taking Jake the Snake's gimmick. This is years before. He's just hanging out the snake. You know what I mean? The Fabulous Freebirds. So when I was a kid, Cole, and I was seeing like these type of images, look at this. Now this is a black and white image, but you can tell that that's red fucking blood. You see that? Ron Bass?
Yep.
And that's the dirty yellow dog. That's Barry Windham under a mask. And he's doing the same gimmick where he was ashamed because Ron Bass had put a saddle on him, like a horse saddle. There's Ron Bass kicking, I think, Mike Rotundo's head. And that's no joke. So, Angelo Mosco Jr., who actually, he's kind of an internet sensation now. People say he might have been the worst wrestler of all time. And I've actually looked into it. It's pretty funny that Angelo Mosco was not a very good promo. Junkyard Dog, man. So, it's like he's contemplating with this test of strength over Kabuki. Here's some color photos. Look at, okay, talking about Ric Flair, man. You're Ric Flair. Look at Steamboat. Here's your buddy, Dick Slater. That's Dick Slater right there. You see that?
Yep.
Snuka, Flair, and Steamboat. I believe this is the famous Night of Champions match that my buddy Michael Joy went to. Check out this fucking picture of the Road Warriors. You see that?
Yep.
The
That's
fucking Kerry Von Erich Ric Flair. So when I was a fucking child, man. Okay, you know, what's his face? Fucking Alberto Del Rio? That's his father. They say that Alberto Del Rio wrestled as Dos Cross 2 or whatever, Dos Cross Jr. That's Alberto Del Rio's father. Can you see where my finger is? The guy in the red mask.
Yep.
That's his brother, Mil Mascaras. The mask, the 1,000 Masks. Don Kernoodle, Jimmy Valiant with some nice blood. And like a glove made out of barbed wire. Andre the Giant, man. And Abdul the Butcher. I mean, this is the real deal stuff. So, I'm going to go back to me now. When people like Kenny Omega and Joey Ryan especially, when they take their physical talents and even to some extent their mic skills and their creativity, and they come up with things like dick plexes and wrestling 9-year-old girls in Japan, yeah, it pisses me off.
Yep.
And the internet fans and the defenders of this can say, well, it's a different sport now. We're all, fine. Fuck it. Take your goddamn sport and wipe your goddamn ass with it. Go have fun with your plastic dolls in Japan or whatever the fuck. But for guys like me and for even younger guys like yourself, Cole, who are kind of learning that, yeah, it doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be disgraceful. Then you want to see things like fucking Vern Gagne, man. This is the real deal. And so, when people, look at Killer Kowalski. I mean, this is the guy that trained fucking Triple H, Killer Kowalski. I'll say this to you, Triple H, if you're fucking watching this. Do you think Killer Kowalski would be proud of some of the things you're promoting? Maybe he would. I mean, I'll give you credit. NXT, Ciampa and Johnny Gargano was a hell of a match, a hell of a story. But that's the type of thing that people want to see in the main roster, Triple H. So yeah, maybe it's a little sick and forbidding, but when the time comes and if Triple H is the one to run the show, we want to see more of NXT Chicago too, rather than some of the stuff we've been seeing on this main roster. We don't want to see Titus dancing around, with 5 different tag team partners over 7 or 8 years that go nowhere. We don't want to see a bunch of storylines that get false started and stopped. Live up to the promise that professional wrestling has.
And if someone breaks their fucking arm, interview them in the back after the fucking 10 minutes goes by and remind the fans, let them know how they're doing. It's simple. Sorry.
Well, it's good stuff, man. I mean, this is the thing that people... See, sometimes, there was some fucking Twitter fan last month who was really just jumping in on all my Twitter crap with Cody and everybody else. And what that fan wrote pissed me off so much. And Joey Ryan liked the fucking comment. Wrestling is a silly sport. It should just be fun. And fucking Joey Ryan liked that. And that's when I lost all respect for Joey Ryan. with the dickplex and everything, I thought there would still be hope for the fucking guy. But now I'm not so sure. Because some of these guys that are in wrestling rings don't really deserve to lace those boots. And, you know, that's just how I feel about it. And some people, you know, I don't know what to tell you. I think it's just a thing, Cole, now I'm getting fired up, where professional wrestling maybe wasn't supposed to be for the mainstream. It's kind of like be careful what you wish for. Because at the core of this fucking thing we call pro wrestling, it's supposed to be a fight, two guys beating the crap out of each other and somebody bleeding. And that's supposed to be a work in that it's not that their guys are really getting hurt. They're getting hurt, but, you know, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I know.
But when you start trying to put every goddamn charity organization, and yes, I like charities, and yes, I like helping people and all that, but when you try to mix that with what wrestling is at its core, which is violent, big, scary dudes, you know, presenting a fucking fight for people as a vicarious thrill, and try to put that with be a star and don't bully people, it's a mixed mojo. You can't have it both ways, and that's the fucking riddle that WWE has presented themselves, and now they get to figure the fucking thing out. That's my tirade for the fucking week.
Yep, I think we should end it right there. A good episode. Thank you for telling me about Starcade 83. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for your time tonight for our episode. Everybody out there, thank you for listening. Thank you for just share it on any platform. I don't care what platform it is. Just send it a text message. Just share it. Help us out. If you enjoy it, let other people enjoy it too. We're only getting better. We're only growing. Improvements every single week. Like I said, we got big things coming. Just Incredible, Eric Bischoff. I'm trying to get a hold of some of the guys from Rocky Mountain Pro and get them on and have different guests every week. Hopefully, not every week, but you know, regularly. Me and my buddy Anthony we're gonna record an episode of the Sports Corner podcast on Tuesday, so that'll be up on the same YouTube page. NFL review show coming up in the NFL season. I'm excited about that. Mikey, what you got going on?
MikeMessier.com for all your Mike Messier needs, wants, and desires. And anyone watching this, hanging with us, like Cole said, share it, retweet it. You can find me, Mikey Messier with a Y on Twitter, Mike Messier, Mikey Messier on Facebook, LinkedIn, I'm on there. I'm a screenwriter. If anyone needs a screenplay and want a great screenwriter for a great deal, contact me. I won't, you know, just leave it at that, but I mean, you can find me pretty easily. Just go to MikeMessier.com. I do have a real obscure thing to show real quick. This is a fucking Murder Bomb. This is a wrestler named Murder Bomb who was on that, like, 2010 Tough Enough, and he had the big afro, and Stone Cold Steve Austin gave him a real hard time because his mic work sucked. But he was like 6'7" or 6'10", and I saw him in an NWA Hollywood taping, like 2010. And the guy was just about to bounce off the ropes, and he did like a parody of the People's Elbow. And as he was about to do it, he goes, "I am tough enough!" And then he ran to the ropes and did his elbow because he was kind of making fun of the fact that he was cut from Tough Enough. Yeah. And Stone Cold said, "You aren't tough enough, see you later." So he still was doing that shtick.
That's funny.
But look, the basic point to all the wrestling fans is keep watching wrestling. But as I'm doing now, even at my extended wrestling fandom age, I'm still watching different types of fucking wrestling, seeing what's out there. The MLWs, the Anthem Wrestling, fucking New Japan, because I love to just see some good stuff. And if anyone has recommendations for new wrestling promotions or old stuff, fucking put a comment, you know what I mean? And thanks to Vince Russo, once again, for Vince Russo brand bringing us together, putting this show over, putting the Russo brand family YouTube is sharing some of our shows or all the shows. Thank them again because that's really helping, and thanks everyone for watching.
Yep, thanks guys. We appreciate it. We'll be back next week with Starcade 84, so make sure you watch that. You know, we're growing, and we have the best numbers we've had this week, and that really encourages me, and I'm really fucking pumped up to ready to just kick it into another gear and keep this thing going. So thank you guys. We'll see you guys next week. I really hope you enjoyed that last episode like I did. Always good content here at Jets Fan Cult Twitch page. Get the word out there. Tell people about it. Share, like. I'm going to have more platforms. I'll keep people updated on that. Look out for the next episode presented to you by Jets Fan Cult Twitch page. Thank you. Again, I hope you enjoyed.